Hello, we are live. Welcome back, everybody. I know you're used to seeing me on Wednesday, so I thought I'd throw it up a little bit, throw a curveball at you, go live on Friday. Plus, it worked better for my guests to go live on Friday, so all about that. But we've got Michael with Evolved Legal. So, hello, Michael.
Hi.
Welcome, welcome.
Thanks for
Michael, why don't you take a second, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into this. And then you have to answer my very favorite question, which is you have to tell us something not a lot of people know about you.
Sure. Yeah. No, Ben, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's really great to be part of this conversation. So great question. So basically, I've been an attorney since 2008. But what happened is I went back to business school and then kind of was thinking about always kind of wanting to start my own practice. But what really kind of changed my life dramatically is about 5 years ago, my dad passed away. And so that kind of set me on an interesting course of really wanting to help people and their families kind of navigate both estate planning as well as the probate process, and kind of with the understanding and sensitivity to all the grief that's involved with losing a loved one, and just really wanting to kind of make a difference and help people make sure that people are prepared for what we're all going to face one day, and what is really a very natural part of life, and just understanding and being there for people. So, and then your second question, what a lot of people don't know about me. Well, there's a couple of things actually. I'm the oldest of 7 children, and so I think that kind of informs a lot of what I do, just in terms of kind of my level of responsibility and kind of wanting to take care of others. And then I also am an avid music fan and love playing guitar and love vinyl records and everything creative. I just love creativity and art generally.
That's awesome. So I'm taking a look at your website, and I just have a question, which is, why should people care about estate planning?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you asked that. Especially for young people, I think a lot of people have this impression that estate planning, they think of a large estate, they think of, somebody with a big gate and a mansion and multiple Ferraris, but actually that's not at all what estate planning is about. Really, it's more about um, both. Well, there's kind of two aspects to it. So during life, who do you want making decisions for you in case something unexpected happens? So if someone, let's say, gets in like a car accident, or someone, something happens to them and they need to appoint a guardian to take care of their children. So there's all these aspects of life that we need to be prepared for because of just the inherent uncertainty in life, as we've all seen during COVID. And then the second aspect to it is, what do you want to have happen to your assets? And that kind of relates a little bit more to, what do you want to have happen to you when you pass away, in terms of, all the assets you've accumulated throughout your life. So I think a lot of people think a little bit more about the assets piece, and not a lot of people understand the importance of advanced healthcare directives and powers of attorney for who you want making medical decisions for you in the event that you no longer can.
Okay, so where do you fit into all of this? What role do you play if I was interested in learning a little bit more? What steps would I need to do to be able to contact you, or what do I need to have prepared to talk?
Yeah, great question. So basically, my process is basically kind of starts with I do complimentary consultations, really just to kind of understand someone's situation and goals. So the first step would just be reaching out to me via phone or email, and setting up a meeting, and that can be in person or over Zoom. I'm pretty flexible. My firm uses a lot of technology and to make the process more efficient and easy for clients. And so then at that point, we would just discuss your goals, discuss what's most important to you in terms of planning. And then we'd kind of go from there and basically set up a plan and start by doing some initial drafts and kind of work through the whole process together in kind of a customized way based on your own goals.
Okay. That's wonderful. As I was scrolling through your website, I saw a couple of pictures, and one of them was one of the ones that struck me was the pregnancy photo. Is that I never actually stopped to think about that. Is that a good time to reach out, is when you find out that you're pregnant, because you kind of want to, direct where things are going to happen? I mean, it's a big life change. It's a reason somebody would call me. It seems like it might actually be a good reason to call somebody like you as well.
Exactly. Yeah. It's interesting you bring that up because I've thought about it recently, and a lot of the same reasons why someone would call you are actually similar to why they would call me as well. So basically, I think estate planning is an interesting area of law because it's important that people think about estate planning whenever they have kind of any major life change. So that can certainly include things like buying a house, things like having a new child, because even if you have an estate plan already, you'll want to update that because you want your estate plan to reflect your current circumstances. And so definitely, I'd say, definitely expecting a child is one of those things. Along with that, anything like losing a family member as well. That's a significant change. What else would I say? I mean, definitely buying a house, like additional assets, moving. So if you move to a new state, that can actually impact your estate planning as well, because each state has their own laws. I'll give a quick example of that. Like California, probate is really difficult there and really expensive. Whereas in Colorado, it's less of an issue. So if I'm representing a client in California, because I'm licensed actually in California, DC, and Colorado, if I'm representing someone in California, I often think to myself about how difficult the probate process is. And clients there have more of an interest in avoiding probate, whereas in Colorado, people are a little bit more okay with more of a will situation versus a trust. So anyway, basically, I mean, to answer your question, any kind of major change in life circumstances, as you go down the Hallmark card aisle, anything that would kind of trigger a major life change is kind of a reason to think about estate planning.
Okay. So one of the questions that kind of popped up in my brain when you were talking about it, what exactly is probate? I've heard about it a lot. I've got a few people that are, dealing with the probate because mom died, and now they're trying to figure out what they have to do with the house. And all I know is, from my side of things, you got to have that all wrapped up before you call me, because we've got to know where the money is going. So what exactly is probate, and why is it? I don't know if you tell me if it's a good thing or a bad thing, because I don't even know that far.
Yeah. Actually, I'm happy that you asked, because sometimes when I speak about it, I think it's one of those phrases where, unless someone has gone through it, it's kind of feels mysterious. And so, yeah, I'm happy to explain. So basically, probate is the process that a court sorry, let me take a step back. So probate is actually a process that a family goes through when someone passes away in their family, and they have to go to court to have all the assets of that person distributed. So the court almost kind of plays like the role of a referee and make sure that things are done fairly and according to the law, because the whole idea is otherwise we would have a complete free-for-all when someone dies. And what would happen, for example, is, oftentimes people have multiple creditors. And so what probate is it's a way to kind of structure and organize things so that total chaos doesn't ensue. So that's why there's a notice that's typically published in the newspaper saying this person has died, and here's the situation with their estate, and there's going to be a hearing. And what it does is it allows any potential creditors to come forward and make themselves known. And kind of on top of that as well, sometimes the probate court will also appoint a personal representative if someone hasn't named one in their will. And the personal representative is the person that kind of trying to think how best to describe. Basically, they're the ones that kind of take the estate through the probate process and kind of interface with the court, and then they get all the assets together and they report to the court kind of what that person had, and the court helps sort through where all the assets are going based on that person's estate plan.
Okay. No, that makes perfect sense. So if you have, and that's why a will is so important, because the will already dictates where the money is going to go. So if you don't have the will, that's when the probate steps in and says, okay, now we have to decide what fair is. The person didn't give us a directive. Now the courts say, okay, we're going to make sure you guys don't fight over this and decide where all this goes and how to split this all up and make it equal for everybody.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, and so fortunately, there are some statutes in place. It's called the laws of intestacy. And so intestacy is just a fancy word for when somebody dies without a will. And so there's statutes out there that say the order by which property gets distributed. But I often tell people, it's not good to wait, because some of the biggest fights I've seen happening with families are over who gets appointed to be personal representative. Because you can imagine a situation where, maybe there's 3 siblings and, maybe they've had a lifetime of conflict, and that decision in terms of who gets to be personal representative, that's a position where there's a lot of power that person has and a lot of responsibility. And so the best way to avoid that family infighting is really to plan in advance.
I love it. So one other question, last question that popped up in chat. You mentioned wills, but you also mentioned trusts. So what's the difference between a will and a trust?
Yeah. So basically, and this goes to, what someone's goals are, because so the biggest thing is a will goes through probate. So that whole probate court process, and oftentimes, especially in some states like California, it can be expensive. So, people are hiring an attorney to take them through the probate process. And that's kind of, a will. And then a trust is basically can be used to avoid probate. But I think an important kind of thing to understand, kind of actually even before kind of going into those distinctions, is a will is basically like an outright distribution. So if someone has a will and they die, immediately that those funds become due to the people they've specified under their will. So it's not always the best thing for somebody that has young adult children who are going to mismanage money. Or, for example, if somebody has young children that can't inherit money, then it absolutely won't work. Whereas a trust is a way of basically, like, a trust can survive someone's death. So the trust kind of lives on in a sense, and whoever is appointed trustee of that trust. So a trust is basically holding money or assets for the benefit of another, essentially for a beneficiary. And the trustee can be like a third party. And so when someone dies, that trust can still continue, and that trustee, that third party trustee who's still living, can continue to make payments to the beneficiaries of that trust over time. So that's kind of the most fundamental distinction between the two. And then, of course, there's just kind of different pros and cons. Like a trust is a little bit more complicated. It's a little more expensive to set up because it's more kind of time consuming to set up. But on the front end, and it's also requires a lot of management too. So if you have a trust, you have to make sure that it's funded, which means putting all your assets in the trust. Otherwise, the trust isn't really going to do you any good. And if you pass away and your assets are outside the trust, those assets will have to be probated. So it's a little more complicated, but there's certain advantages in certain situations. And in other situations, a will is plenty fine for some people. So, it's totally a case by case situation.
Awesome. No, that was fantastic. I know I learned a ton, and
Yeah.
that's what we're here for, is for me to learn. So, so just tell me.
I learned a ton from you, Ben. So I appreciate you and your expertise.
You bet. Absolutely. So I know it's been scrolling at the bottom of the screen, but for some of my audio listeners, can you share where folks can find you and get a hold of you if they want to learn more about this?
Yeah, sure. So if people want to kind of learn a little bit about my approach, they're welcome to start at my website. So my website is www.evolved. That's EVOLVED legal.com. And then my email address is just michael@evolved-legal.com. And then my phone number, my work line is 720-445-6636. One quick thing I kind of wanted to mention too. So the name of my firm, Evolved Legal, it's kind of a comment not only on wanting to change the legal industry and make things more approachable and easy for clients. I know, for example, a lot of clients get charged, hourly by attorneys and don't know what to expect. So one thing I try to do differently is charge things on a flat fee basis, so people know exactly, how much it's going to cost to get their estate plan set up. I feel like that's really important, and it kind of fosters clients feeling a little more comfortable to ask questions too, which I feel is a super important part of estate planning. And the second reason I call it Evolved Legal is it's kind of an evolution of taking what was a tragedy or a hard thing in my life with the passing of my dad and turning it into a positive and really helping other families kind of navigate this process and make sure that they're prepared and make sure that they're providing for their families. Because kind of as I've learned in my own kind of family and situation, the best gift that you can give to your loved ones is providing them knowledge of what your wishes are and not having them have to guess, after you've passed away. So yeah, that's kind of the approach that I take. And just thought I'd quickly mention that just because some people ask me, where the name came from.
That's awesome. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you for your time today.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. It's been wonderful speaking with you.
Excellent.
Appreciate it.
You bet. And to the rest of you, so just to let you know, next week we're going to start our dive into accounting, and we're going to talk about the child income tax credit. We've got a whole bunch of awesome stuff that we're going to be covering there. If you know anything about me, you know that I'm not going to put some stuffy accountant on. They're going to be fun and engaging and personable, and it's not going to be boring. So check it out next week and the rest of this month. And as always, if you know anybody who's looking to purchase or refinance, rates are really low. We can help people get qualified for homes in minutes. I'm getting approvals in hours. Literally just this morning, submitted one at about 5 a.m. By 9 o'clock, the loan had already been approved. So we are moving blazing fast on a lot of these purchases. So it helps you be a little bit more competitive in the market. And yeah, if you know anybody who's looking to purchase or refinance, send them my way. Thanks, guys. Peace.